Our 90-day all-access package is always incredibly popular at the start of football, but we've made it even better. Not only do we discount the 90-day all-access package to $7.99, but until August 29th, we've added 30 days. That's right, until Sunday, August 29th, you get 120 days of the most action-packed sports month for only $7.99. That would include the rest of the NFL preseason, all MLB plays through the World Series, the entire college football regular season, at least 15 weeks of the NFL, over 2 months of the NHL and NBA, over 6 weeks of college basketball, plus any soccer, UFC, Asian baseball, Asian basketball, golf, and any other sports your favorite capper releases. The most action-filled 120 days of the sports year are yours for only $7.99.
Welcome, everybody, to WagerTalk Today. It is Wednesday, August 25th. I'm Lawrence Presman. My co-host, Teddy, covers. And Teddy, we got a really good show today. Both college football #1 experts. Matt Joseph, #1 college football expert over at Sports Memo last year. And Tony Mejia, #1 college football expert at WagerTalk. Tony's up first. He's going to give us some win-loss record, some bets, and a bet on the Illinois game. And Matt Joseph, he's got some player props for us. And you and I are going to talk AFC South today as well. I am having, for some reason, I'm on one computer and everything is streaming great. And on my other computer, I can't even bring up YouTube. So, guys, joining us, I won't be able to see any comments today. My apologies, but, well, hell, hit that like button. Teddy, how are you, bro?
I'm doing okay, Prez, though I'll tell you what, there's something from last night that I learned that we don't usually see this early, and it's kind of exciting. That, of course, being NBA futures. And here we are, we're in August, all right? And, yeah, it's late August, but it's August. Football hasn't properly started yet, you know? You can still make, and we're going to talk about it on today's show, season win bets for football, and yet the NBA numbers are up already. And to me, that's exciting. For one, this is the earliest I've ever seen them up. And number two, there's some really interesting NBA numbers to talk about, Prez, if you want to, for just a moment at the top of the show.
Well, I don't want to, but you can. I mean, for me, it's like, holy Jesus, dude. I mean, take a freaking breath. I spent last night researching the AFC South. I put hours into it. Now you want me to talk about NBA in November? No, but Mike's all yours.
Sure. And first, it's worth noting the NBA starts in October and mid-October. So the offseason, once again this year, going to be very short in the NBA. Some of the win totals that stood out to me, you know, and again, you can get these are posted somewhere. I'm sure they're posted over at WagerTalk.com. But these are Westgate Superbook numbers. And again, Virgin numbers are always exciting. All right. So look at the Knicks, all right, who locked up everybody, right? They locked up all these guys. And this is the Knicks run for it. No. The Knicks are lined at 42.5. They're lined as they're going to compete for the 7 or 8 seed, just like last year. In fact, they're lined at the same number as Chicago Bulls, who brought in a bunch of new talent. I mean, the Bulls are a good notch better than the Knicks. And to see those two teams both lined at 42.5 stood out to me. The Suns, the defending West, 49.5 at the open. The San Antonio Spurs, who have been as consistent as any franchise in the NBA for the last 20-plus years. The lowest win total I've seen on them in the last 20-plus years, 29.5 for the Spurs. And your Raptors aren't really. The first bet came in on Toronto under. They're already down to 37.5 wins, Prez. Utah, who didn't make splashy moves in the offseason, they're lined at 53.5. That's right below the top teams, the Nets and the Bucks. So the Utah Jazz, the highest win total in the Western Conference, higher than the Lakers, higher than the Clippers, higher than everybody. That stood out to me. And let's talk about the Hawks and the Celtics in finale, because we're thinking of Boston here and Atlanta here, and maybe last year was an aberration. The market's saying that was no aberration. Atlanta and Boston this year, both lying 46.5 wins. The markets are saying these two teams and these two franchises are dead even. That's my initial thoughts, Prez. Back to you. What did you learn last night?
Nothing. Absolutely nothing, Teddy. We are days away from college football, and I am literally just cramming in as many TV shows that I can do because it all is about to come to a crashing halt. So what did I do last night? I watched Hit and Run on Netflix for about 4 hours. 4 hours. Listen, I had games on in the background. I picked the Toronto Blue Jays yesterday. They lost. I did have that on. I watched some other stuff. I mean, listen, I watch the highlights every night, but God, Teddy, I mean, we have to take a breather. And I mean, we are literally 10 days from not sleeping until April. So I'm going to just squeeze every moment out of the next 10 days. I'm going golfing today, bro.
Good for you. Because that's the truth of it. And that's the one thing that I realized it, but I didn't truly recognize it when I got into this business, is that there are legitimately no days off. You don't get a weekend. You don't get to take 4th of July off. You don't get to take New Year's Day off or Christmas or any of them. And the way that wears on you, it's different in your 20s and 30s than it is in your 40s and 50s. You just get worn down a little bit more. That's why every summer I make sure I got to take a couple weeks off, and I take it off, and I don't even I literally do nothing when it comes to sports and sports betting during that time because you have to. Good luck getting your break in here, Prez. It's a little bit late for that now.
No, man. What do you mean? I've been on break. Dude, I've been on break for months. I'm just squeezing the last 10 days out of it. Tony Mejia joining us, everyone. Tony, #1 college football expert at WagerTalk.com last year, and you are a high volume player. What should customers expect when playing your college football this season?
Well, they should expect to get some plays early in the week where I think, all right, we're not going to see a better line, but I am very much one of those people that's wary of injuries and COVID. I mean, that was a huge deal last season because you didn't know how, midway through the week if the game was even going to be played. So hopefully we don't have to deal with that this season, but we will have to deal with talks of outbreaks and the same injury-related news. And sometimes you have to do the little dance of weighing the balance of whether you want to get in on the right number or you want to get in with the most information. So certainly it worked out for me last season and hope for the best this year.
So I want to ask a follow-up on COVID real quick.
Go ahead, bro.
Because right now, obviously, the outbreak is blowing up all over the place. There's a lot of concerns around sports that we don't want to see what we saw last year with one game after the next. Are they going to play it? Are they not going to play it? Are the teams following the protocols? They're not following the protocols. What sense are you getting for this college football season when it comes to COVID? Do you think we're going to see the type of interruptions that we saw last year or not so much?
Not so much. I mean, we had so many games canceled last year. I mean, teams played as few as 3 games in a schedule. We didn't even have, conferences at this point in the season saying they were going to play. The Pac-12 and the Big Ten, were saying, all right, I guess we're done this year until circumstances changed around September, October. So hopefully we're in a better place now. We're seeing teams at a vaccination rate of over 80% throughout the country. Washington passed that mandate so that their head coach had to relent and get himself vaccinated, get his team vaccinated. So I hope we're in a better spot. Certainly, you can catch COVID vaccinated, so it just minimizes damage, I believe, and we'll see quicker recoveries. But I think we will have to deal with contact tracing and the like. We're already seeing it with Cam Newton in the NFL and other players. Cole Beasley and whatnot. So these are kids. They're going back to school. They have to go to classes. Certainly, I believe that we'll once again have to deal with it.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Tony, let's get into it. 3 picks today. NC State, their win-loss record for the year, 6.5. You going over or under?
Yeah, NC State's one of my favorite teams this season, just because I think that outside of the Clemson game, which is at home, every game on their schedule is winnable. And the key to their team is getting a player that hurt himself last year and had to deal with COVID in the lineup as a quarterback to stay healthy, because he is clearly the number one quarterback on the roster. That's Devin Leary. He's a third-year sophomore, very talented, highly touted. And around him, he's got a ton of talent. 2 of the ACC's top receivers, one of their best offensive lines, a running back in Bam Knight that's first-team All-ACC, kick returner 2, 10 starters returning on defense. And, we'll see them blow out South Florida in week 1. They're an 18-point favorite. But then they go to week 2. They play in Starkville at Mississippi State. That'll be a big barometer game. And if they get back by that game, they've got Furman, moved to 3-0, and then they host Clemson. I think they're the only team in that division that can beat Clemson. So we'll see if DJ Uiagalelei is picking up where Trevor Lawrence left off, or if the Tigers look vulnerable. And then they've got games against Louisiana Tech, at Boston College. I mean, they could start out 6-0, and their win total is 6.5. So you close out the end of their schedule, all those teams are beatable: Miami, Louisville, Florida State, Wake Forest, Syracuse, and they close out against North Carolina, who also has one of the game's most talented quarterbacks. So I'm looking at a 9-win season for Dave Doran's team. They've overachieved over the past few seasons anyway, so it's clearly a well-coached squad.
So here's my question for you. And I haven't heard one person come on this show. I haven't heard one person come on my Sirius XM show on Saturdays and say, I don't like NC State. And yet the total's sitting at 6.5. It really hasn't moved. What are the handicappers seeing that the wise guys aren't seeing? Why is this total so low?
Yeah, I'm not sure. They went 8-4 last year. They put together a pair of 9-win seasons under Doran in 17 and 18. So they've really only had one down season. I mean, there are a couple of toss-up games. They could lose to Miami. They could lose at Mississippi State. Certainly Clemson, they'll be an underdog. At North Carolina at the end of the season, even though I believe that's a home game, it's going to be a toss-up game. So I'm not. I thought the number was a little low. I thought it would be 7.5. So certainly there's value there. I don't know what they're seeing, but sometimes they're way off.
Yeah, Tony Mejia joining us, everyone. Tony, you're on a 3-0 baseball run, a 4-0 baseball totals run, 5-0 preseason total run. Good for you, man. Great stuff. And yeah, Teddy, what you were saying, Dave Koken came on here as well, and he was pretty high on NC State. Am I right? I don't want to say
There's been multiple guys. Yeah, I mean, I've talked to NC State is one of these teams that keeps coming up in these conversations of which teams we want to pay attention to, which teams we can make money with. And I've heard a number of different guys. And again, one thing that happens when you live in Vegas, somebody says something and then somebody else says something. And a lot of times everyone's saying it, but you can trace it back to one guy's opinion.
Right.
When you've got Tony on the other side of the country, when you got you over there, when you got us, this appears to be more organic than some of those opinions that you get. I think a lot of people independently are coming in.
And it's funny what you just said, because there are a bunch of handicappers that use a similar database to do their work, et cetera, and you'll be like, 17 guys are on, Illinois, and it's like, oh my God! But what it really is one trend is on Illinois. 17 guys are using that same trend. So it is, what you were saying is interesting, to say the least. Notre Dame, Tony, under or over 8.5 on their win-loss record for the season.
Prez, we're going to go under on this. And I saw it at 9. Now it's at 8.5 at most spots. They've won 10 games in 4 straight seasons, at least 10. And obviously coming off another berth in the college football playoff semis. And the books have only set this at 8.5, 9. And the reason for that is the schedule. The schedule is brutal. I mean, you figure that they're going to get everybody's best punch, right? So there's some teams in there that can punch with an uppercut and get you a puncher's chance at an upset. Toledo, Navy always plays them tough. They've got to go to Virginia. Georgia Tech, we'll see what happens there in late November. And then you've got the actual really tough games on their schedule. October 2nd, they host Cincinnati. That game's already been sold out. That comes on the heels of playing Wisconsin in Chicago. And then they travel to Virginia Tech the very next week. So that's as grueling a 3-week stretch as most teams will face. Then they get a bye week, and they'll host USC in North Carolina with Kaidon Slovis quarterbacking USC. He's a first rounder probably, and Sam Howell, a top 10 pick quarterbacking North Carolina. So that's 5 games in a row where Notre Dame, if they're not on their game, they could lose all of them.
So it's certainly a Fighting Irish team where the program, or a Fighting Irish program, I should say, that's been recruiting at a high level, throughout the Brian Kelly year. And we look at teams like Clemson that graduate a bunch of players, or Alabama that graduates a bunch of players, and come back the next year and they're every bit as good. There's a Notre Dame team that suffered massive offseason losses, no question.
Yep.
My question to you, though, is this Irish team capable of reloading? Are they at that level of the Alabamas and Clemsons where it doesn't matter who graduates, the guys coming in are every bit as good as the guys who just left?
Yeah, they've certainly done a nice job under Brian Kelly over the last 6 or 7 years. But they have running back Kyron Williams back. He's a 1,000-yard rusher. But I just don't like all the turnover. They lost Clark Lee, the excellent defensive coordinator. He's now the head coach at Vandy. They bring in another really talented guy, Marcus Freeman, who had a wonderful success with Cincinnati last year. But he's got a new system. They lost 3 of the top 5 tacklers, I believe. Offensively, Tommy Reese, the ex-quarterback, he's still under 30. You don't think it helped him to have Ian Book as his quarterback in his first season? And now he's got Jack Cohen, who never really impressed me at Wisconsin. And now he's the quarterback there. They lost some wide receivers. They lost some offensive linemen. I think between the schedule and the personnel losses and the lack of continuity, this is a step backward year for Notre Dame.
Tony Mejia, everyone. Tony, you got, man, like, I'm having a disaster with my computer on the left over here. It's amazing. I'm hardwired in on this computer so I can do the show, but the internet on my Wi-Fi is absolutely sucking right now. Let's get into a week 0. You got a bet for us on the Illinois game. Take it from there.
Yeah, it would have been nice to get Illinois plus 9.5, which is where it opened. But Illinois plus 7, it looks like is going to be the ceiling, considering I think FanDuel came down to 6.5. Nebraska, if you're not cheating, you're not trying. Looked like they practiced early. Scott Frost always has a warm space in my heart because he rescued my UCF program from the George O'Leary winless days to really modernizing the program. And then he left for his alma mater, which I don't hate, but he's had very little success there. Huskers are 0-7 against ranked foes, and certainly Illinois is not a ranked opponent, but they have a lot of talent back, and Brett Bielema really coaching them up in his first season. They got Brandon Peters back. I think from a talent standpoint, Illinois and Nebraska are probably even, and then this game is in Champaign, and I think the only reason that the number opened at what it was is because Illinois has been so garbage under Lovie Smith, and Nebraska is more of a national program, but Nebraska's obviously hit hard times. So I'm fully expecting Illinois to be in that football game with a chance to win in the fourth quarter.
So here's my question for you, because a lot of times, like, the new coaches will get a fair bit of hype. And the guys who are in their second or third years, they don't get the hype anymore, but that's when the programs are actually ready to turn around. Now, there was so much expectation for Scott Frost when he got to Lincoln that he hasn't lived up to. But now it's his program. Whereas Brett Bielema, he's still coaching Lovey's kids, and it's a long way to go for Illinois. Are you worried at all about the state of the program for Illinois being weaker than the state of the program for Nebraska, or is that irrelevant? The talent on the field is fairly similar.
Yeah, the talent on the field is fairly similar, Teddy. And sometimes kids get rejuvenated by a new voice, and Bielema knows what he's doing. I trust him to get guys prepared in August, which is obviously key. 88 career starts on the offensive line. Brandon Peters, a former top 5 recruit at Michigan, back for his 4th year in college. You've got, really talented kids like Owen Carney, Jake Hansen, Sidney Brown on the defensive end, 18 returning starters, 9 on both sides of the ball. Tony Peterson, who's a known commodity, running the offense. It's going to be interesting to see how that Bielema and Peterson work together, because Bielema obviously likes to ground and pound, and Peterson is well known for his spread. So we'll see what that marriage dictates in terms of what we see offensively. But, Brandon Peters, Adrian Martinez, Martinez has started 27 of Scott Frost's 32 games. He's on his 4th season because he started as a true freshman. He'll probably be back next year because I don't see a pro prospects for him. So, we'll see. And we'll see if Frost is back next year. And again, I wish that man no ill will, because he rescued the UCF program. He obviously knows what he's doing, but he's had really hard luck in Lincoln. And it seems to me that his style, that what he wants to play, the up-tempo, doesn't translate as well in the Big Ten as it did in the American.
Tony, dude, thanks for joining us, man. Outstanding stuff. Great work, like always. What do you got to promote for our listeners, our clients?
Well, we got a 5% play in MLB tonight, so hopefully stay hot there. And then college football this weekend, a little baseball, exhibition NFL that we actually can know who's playing on the field. That'll be nice. So, it's here. Your vacation time is over, Prez.
I say when my vacation time is over, damn it. Thanks, man. Awesome stuff, guys. We're going to be right back. Teddy's big game breakdown. We're going to look at the AFC South. We got Matt Joseph still with us, so don't go anywhere. 20 seconds.
Are you ready for football season? Yes, you heard right. The NFL kicks off in less than 50 days, and WagerTalk and Gold Sheet have you covered with the new Gold Sheet NFL Summer Guide. The Gold Sheet NFL Summer Guide is over 80 pages of actionable NFL handicapping information to help you prep for this season from a betting perspective, and best of all, the guide is free. This includes lines for every NFL game, schedule with Ralph Michaels' exclusive power ratings, position-by-position breakdown with every NFL player that made a start last season, exclusive NFL health reports for each team, and much more. Just go to thegoldsheet.com, and the guide is available on the front page with no sign-up or information needed.
It is time for today's big game breakdown. I'm going to talk some NFL preseason football. I'm going to talk about the biggest line mover on the card. Yeah, that means the Steelers and the Panthers, Friday night NFLX. Before I get into the breakdown, I do want to let you know about what's going on over at WagerTalk and SportsMemo.com. For me, I've been running pretty good. 3 sweeps in the last 5 days. I do have a 5% big ticket play available for week 1 of the NFL regular season. We're also in action with Friday preseason football and MLB for tonight. You can get all of those plays, again, right now at WagerTalk and or SportsMemo.com. Let's talk about the Steelers and the Panthers. And look, we lost the -2.5 this morning. And we talk about -3 as being a key number. Not so much in preseason. Grand total of 0 games last week decided by a field goal after a bevy in week 1. Although dogs winning by 3 deserves an asterisk. 2.5, -2.5 only matters when the favorite wins by 3. All that said, the fact that we lost the -2.5 and now we have to lay 3 on Carolina, not great. That being said, it's the only way to play this ballgame. Look, Steelers are 3-0 in the preseason. They came out last week and their starters played extremely well. From all indications, Pittsburgh isn't going to play anybody this week. It's going to be like a week 4 preseason game for the Steelers. They're not all that interested. When you talk about the Carolina piece of the equation, it's a very different story. Matt Rule's quote, I'm not really prepared to say, I was going to talk about how long the starters are going to go. My preference would be that our ones would play a good half of football. That's the key part of that quote. All right. It looks like Carolina's first stringer is going to be on the field the whole first half against Pittsburgh's backups. So we don't have a first half lineup for this game, but they'll lay in 3 or 3.5 with Carolina. Maybe look at them for the full game. I'd be very comfortable laying 3 with Carolina first half. That's the number I expect to see. And that's the recommendation I will make for you on this big game breakdown. Look at the Panthers first half against the Steelers. They're coming to play. Pittsburgh, not so much. There's your big game breakdown. Back to you, Mr. Prez.
Teddy covers. Awesome stuff, man. Let's get into the AFC South. I did a video on this in full detail, a deep dive, if you will, on the NFL presidential address. You guys can find it at this channel, WagerTalk TV, our YouTube channel. Teddy, let's start with, unless you disagree, to win the division, this is a 2-horse race. The Titans are minus 120. The Colts are plus 140. Yesterday you already told us you've got Houston as the worst team in the league. Their over and under on the win-loss is 4. The Jags are 6.5. Let me start by just asking you, do you see any bets inside of this division?
So let's start with this. I genuinely think this is the worst division in the NFL. I don't think it's really necessarily that close. So teams that face this division, we're going to like those teams. Bad division. Similarly, there's not a team in this division that I'm comfortable betting over. All right, not one. Now,
last year they were 11-5. I see them going 11-6 this year. You look at this Tennessee team. Henry rushed for an average of 168 yards per game. That is insane numbers. I know that the interesting thing about these running backs is it's 3 years in a row of just absolute beast mode from him. But when these running backs fall off a cliff, they fall off a cliff fast. So assuming Henry is as good as last year and the year before, 17 touchdowns last year, over 2,000 yards from the line of scrimmage. This team was the 3rd best team in offense, in total offense. Similar to Cleveland with Chubb and Hunt. Ryan Tannehill, that play action pass is going to be there for him all year long. I don't know how teams are going to be able to defend this Tennessee offense. Do you stack the deck, stack the box, and keep Henry down? If you do, Ryan Tannehill's got weapons everywhere. Do you double cover Julio? If you do, you're going to be opening up lanes for Henry. I think this team is loaded with playmakers. The problem ultimately is their defense. And, 28th last year in the league in defense, 29th in pass defense. The biggest problem they had last year was literally no rushers. They just picked up Dupree and Autry. I think they're going to have a better defense than last year. I just don't know how much better. But I am very high on the Titans this year. I think they are a top 4 or 5 team in the AFC. And I honestly wouldn't want to play them in the playoffs, not with Henry carrying that ball. I know you want to jump in quick.
Yeah, so there's 2 things to say. One is that Julio Jones is already hurt. All right, the guy hasn't practiced since August 1st, and he's a guy with a long history of injuries and underachieving. So I'm not looking at Tennessee and going, this receiving core is definitely way better than it was last year. But you asked about bets, and I almost forgot. I made this bet. The first number I saw was Derrick Henry under, I think it was 1550 rushing, or 1550 and a half, or 1549 and a half. I forgot. I made that bet a couple of months ago.
Yep.
But I bet Derrick Henry under for one reason and one reason only. Go look in the last 20 years at NFL running backs after a season in which they had more than 350 carries. And Henry, 303 in 2019, 378 carries last year. Nobody else was even close. And what happens to these running backs the year after they go 350 plus is every single one of them gets hurt and underachieves the next year. Derrick Henry under. There's your best bet in this division.
Yeah, and you know what? It makes a lot of sense, too. And I actually think we're going to see a more balanced Tennessee attack, which will also help even if Henry doesn't get hurt or even if Henry is a beast like he always is. I think that'll help your under as well. I got a question for you about the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Houston Texans. 6.5 is the total season win-loss record for the Jags and 4 for the Texans. I know you are hating on the Texans. 4 is pretty low, but hey, every year we get a team with a 1 and a 2 in the W column. What do you see coming out of Houston and also coming out of Jacksonville, which, ultimately is a fascinating team to watch this year?
I see 2 bad teams. However, when you're talking, again, it's a 17-game season this year, not a 16-game. There's more garbage time towards the end of the season where their opponents may be just as bad as they are if things go south. And when you're talking about, again, I cannot ask Houston to win 5 games this year. All right, they're the worst team in the NFL on paper. It's not close. I'm not going to ask them to do good things. I'm not going to ask bad teams to win for them. I'm not playing them under. No, I'm not playing under 4. I'm not playing the Jags under 6.5. The Jags schedule is so easy. I mean, they have so many winnable games that, if somebody stinks, it's, I would love to be betting the Jags on, but I can't get there. The schedule's not right.
Yeah, awesome stuff. I mean, listen, for me, I'm with you. I want to bet the Jags under the total. I think we're going to get value on the Jags. I think people are all excited. I mean, they're
not after you watch Monday night. I mean, they were on Monday Night Football, and anyone that watched that game, there was no way. People saw the Jaguars that night. There's no excitement about Jacksonville.
Yeah, they got offensive line problems, which is such a shame because they've got a great 2 great running backs. A decent wide receiving core. Just got to get their O-line better. Brother, let's bring Matt Joseph in. Matthew Joseph, #1 college football handicapper at sportsmemo.com, a real good friend of the show. And someone we will have on regularly. How are you, dude? What's going on?
Doing well. Long time watcher. First time in a while being back on the show.
Oh, dude, should I cue a drink for you? You know who that reference? You get the reference there, Teddy? Is
that a Howard reference or something? I don't know. No.
Nah.
I have no idea.
Don't worry about it.
First time caller. What?
No, the drink part. The cue the drink part. Anyway, Matt, we love having you on, dude. Let's get straight into it because we got 4 prop bets. Josiah Gray strikeout prop bet. Talk to me.
Yeah, I'm going with the over here. It's 5.5, and this is pretty much a auto bet on the over when it comes to the Miami Marlins. I mean, if you look at their lineup and you're not necessarily a big baseball fan, you don't know who half these guys are, and a lot of them have massive strikeout rates. And when you look at this Josiah Gray, he had 10 strikeouts in his only road start of the season against Atlanta. He's gone over this number in 3 of his 4 starts. 12 of the last 17 pitchers have had 5 strikeouts or more against the Marlins. And you look, they're 6th in K rate in versus right-handers, 2nd the last 2 weeks, and 4th at home. So they strike out a lot at home. The one worry here is that Gray is consistently going only 5 or 6 innings. The 3rd time through the lineup, he's been absolutely abysmal this season. So the Nationals have taken him out early. But I think the Marlins are just so free swinging. I think he's going to go over the number of 5.5 today in that game tonight.
So, I mean, he's made, 4 starts with the Nats. He's gone over that number twice and under that number twice. Does it concern you at all that he hasn't been as consistent with the strikeouts as perhaps some of the other starters are?
It's a little bit of a worry, but I mean, this guy's got such good stuff. And as I said, the Marlins are a team that's just so free swinging. They're basically just playing out the string and calling up a lot of their youngsters who haven't seen a lot of major league pitching. And just, this is pretty much an auto bet on the over to the Marlins because they're so bad when it comes to swinging the bats nowadays.
Matt, you're on a 24-10 baseball run, 67-41 in your baseball prop bets. Congratulations, man. Outstanding summer of betting for you. Houston Cougars, over or under 8.5 wins, and where are they going to end in their conference?
So I like the over here, and in some books, in some places, you can get the over at plus money. It's 8.5 wins, and I think that this is a team that's going to be. Look, everybody's talking about UCF, and everybody's talking about Cincinnati in the AAC, but Dana Holgerson's quietly building a team that I think is going to be pretty good. Clayton Tune last year. Look, we all made fun of Dana Holgerson 2 years ago because he redshirted guys in the middle of the season. He said, "All right, next year with De'Aaron King and these wide receivers, we're going to have a great year." Well, obviously, it didn't work out the way he thought. De'Aaron King transfers to Miami. The wide receivers go pro. And then there's a whole COVID offseason. So there were some massive problems there. Clayton Tune steps in. He has a mediocre season last year. It was a disappointing year for Houston. But now they've got a ton of guys back. Their wide receiving core is good. Their running back is good. They've got a good offensive line and a defense that's pretty much intact. Here's the key when you're looking at this win total. They don't play UCF. They don't play Cincinnati, and their 3 non-conference games are all winnable. So if I could start out 3-0 before even getting to the likes of USF and Temple and UConn and East Carolina, then I think we have a good shot at hitting the 8.5. And I would even sprinkle, because there's some long shot prices, I would even sprinkle on Houston to win the AAC, because all they have to do is get there. And if they have one really good game against Cincinnati or UCF, they can win the championship, and you're getting it at a nice number.
So, in theory, I'm with you. But the more I watch Dana Holgerson, the more I think this guy's an absolute ass clown who talks really well and doesn't know how to get a football team prepared. And when you look at his track record as a head coach, guy could call plays great as an offense coordinator. As a head coach, Dana Holgerson teams year in, year out have kind of underachieved. Does that concern you, being that he's had no success in Houston? And Houston, the last time they won more than 8.5 games, what was that, 2016, 2015? Long time ago for this program.
Yeah, it is a bit of a concern. I wish there was some better coaching there, but I mean, I feel like this schedule is almost idiot-proof. I mean, Navy, Tulsa, Tulane, ECU, SMU, USF, Temple, Memphis, UConn. As I said, no UCF, no Cincinnati. And so for the win total, especially at a plus price, 9 wins is very doable out of that group. Texas Tech, Rice, Grambling are the other non-conference games besides UConn. So yeah, you're right. Dana Holgerson's not the best in-game coach, but I feel like this schedule's idiot-proof, and there's 9 or 10 wins there with just the fact that they'll have the better team on the field most nights.
Matt Joseph joining us, #1 college football handicapper over at Sports Memo. Matt, you've got a prop bet for us on Miles Sanders. What do you like with him?
Yeah, under 350.5 receiving yards from Miles Sanders. And look, when you talk about player props, ideally, if you're a beginner in this industry, you want to stick with the teams you really know. Obviously, I'm an Eagles fan. You can tell from everything around me. So I'm kind of ingrained when it comes to reading the beat reports and seeing the video and things like that. And the biggest storylines coming out of Eagles camp are, A, Miles Sanders is dropping the ball a ton when he's getting it thrown to him. And B, Boston Scott and Kenny Gainwell are catching the ball when it comes to them. You look at Nick Sirianni's offense in Indianapolis. Nyheim Hines caught a bunch of passes. I could see Kenny Gainwell and Boston Scott being the Nyheim Hines. You look at Sanders. His first season, 509 receiving yards. Last year, 197 receiving yards. Now, granted, it was in 12 games. He was only targeted 52 times and had 28 catches. So there were 24 times he was targeted. He didn't catch the ball. I think Kenny Gainwell and Boston Scott are going to be the recipients of a lot of these receptions. So I like the under 350.5 receiving yards for Miles Sanders.
So I remember Logan Thomas when I think it was Arizona drafted him as a quarterback.
Yeah.
Who drafted him with that? And I'm like, this guy is not going to be an NFL quarterback. And he wasn't, and he hasn't been. However, at 6'6", 250, he's transitioning to be a pretty good tight end for the Washington football team. And this year he's the starter for Washington. What are we going to do with the former Virginia Tech quarterback Logan Thomas as the football team's tight end this year?
Yeah, over 600.5 receiving yards. Last year, he had 670 receiving yards on 110 targets. Now, he's not going to get fed 110 targets. They did add Curtis Samuel. They did add some other pieces at wide receiver. But he is the only tight end. Their tight end room essentially is him and a bunch of nobodies. So he's going to be on the field a ton. And don't forget last year, his first couple of weeks, he had Dwayne Haskins throwing the ball, and Dwayne Haskins was abysmal. The first 5 weeks of the season last year, he had 106 yards total. And as I said, he finished with almost 700. So when they got rid of Haskins and put a real quarterback in there, his stock went up. And Ryan Fitzpatrick, we know, you look at his career, he loves the tight end. And not only does he love the tight end, he loves pushing the ball down the field. The Washington football team was here in Richmond for a week, and Thomas was always open. And he's a guy that getting a ton of looks from Fitzpatrick. So once again, it's something that I'm familiar with as a guy who covers the Washington football team for my radio station here, reading all the beat reporters, talking to them and stuff like that. Logan Thomas is going to have a massive year, over 600.5 receiving yards for the Washington football tight end.
Awesome stuff, Matt. Just really love having you on the show. So good. I mean, we got guys in the chat room just giving you some major props. David Gary, Matt is money. Well, he's not actually money. He's Matt, but he makes money. Anything
Matt will be on,
Teddy?
I'm just going to say, Matt will be on with me this week on SiriusXM Channel 204. Cover It with Teddy Covers. So you can check out more from Matt. We'll be breaking down all kinds of college football information this week.
Yeah, and speaking of which, Teddy, stop asking me to be on the show every week. Same bullshit. I'm not coming on your show. We do enough together. Matt Joseph, what do you got to promote? Blah, 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 blah. Matt, what do you got to promote?
You gave the record. I'm running really well in K-props. I've got a nice K-prop package, including the game coming up between the Tigers and the Cardinals. You can find that at sportsmemo.com.
Awesome stuff. Get out of here. Let's go. Presidential Daily Address. Hating on this tune. That's what I'm doing. I'm hating on that tune. Oh my God, give me some hardcore guitar or something. Anyway, I want Teddy's big game breakdown music. Thanks everyone for watching the best daily sports betting show on the planet, WagerTalk Today, 12 to 1 Eastern time on WagerTalk TV, our YouTube channel. Today's show, Matt Joseph, Tony Mejia, and Teddy and I looked at the AFC South. Real quick, guys, I lost my play last night in baseball, still on a really big run, 49-28, all sports run. I only like 2 bets tonight that I did not release to my clients. We're going back to the Brewers over the total. We had them yesterday, and we're going with the Jays under the total. That's really it for us. What an outstanding show. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. Teddy, I got a schnitzel sandwich with my name on it. Take us home.
Sure. I love the short presidential address. Was the best thing about today's show. Really enjoyed that. Thank you guys for taking time out of your day to hang out with us. We ask you only one thing. We think this is good, quality, free content. If you like it, give us a like. And please tell your friends about WagerTalk Today. We'll do it again tomorrow. Same time, same channel, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon for you on the East Coast. Between now and then, enjoy the games and good luck.
Our 90-day all-access package is always incredibly popular at the start of football, but we've made it even better. Not only do we discount the 90-day all-access package to $7.99, but until August 29th, we've added 30 days. That's right, until Sunday, August 29th, you get 120 days of the most action-packed sports month for only $7.99. That would include the rest of the NFL preseason, all MLB plays through the World Series, the entire college football regular season, at least 15 weeks of the NFL, over 2 months of the NHL and NBA, over 6 weeks of college basketball, plus any soccer, UFC, Asian baseball, Asian basketball, golf, and any other sports your favorite capper releases. The most action-filled 120 days of the sports year are yours for only $7.99.